as a result of conversations that we have been conducted in the last 6 months, we are getting closer to the understanding what is behind all these threatenings and menacing, particularly since Donald Trump got into the United States presidency, but not just limited to that. As you all know, this threat was invented since World War II, and particularly as a result of the dropping of 2 bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the United States government. This is particularly is part of the United States foreign policy interest. And as one Secretary of State put it after World War II, that the United States of America has not friends or enemies, but has interests to protect. And those are political interest, economic, military interest, the geographical, strategic interest. And in order to do that, a series of policies must be conducted. And particularly this one, it has been very effective, and it is very effective, and it's not... and they don't need that many resources to keep the world under permanent fear. That's the essence of this. World-sponsored terrorism or state-sponsored terrorism. Nations-sponsored terrorism. And as you can see, after 9/11, 2001, a new doctrine took place in the world. A doctrine that has been in the developing stages for years. And given the conditions that they had at that particular time, they went ahead and did 9/11. And with that, they brought all what you are seeing today. Al-Qaeda is gone, Osama bin Laden is gone, so new devices must be brought onto the table. And what you are seeing with this nuclearizing of the minds of humans in the planet is just that. It's a policy of intimidating and terrorizing the human soul. And by any means necessary, you can see that it has become the topic of the day every day for the current United States administration. And of course, in agreement with the global elite, the richest of the world. It is extremely convenient for the owners, right, of the world to keep it that way. Yes, we're going to have nuclear war. We might have it. We might have it tomorrow. Yes, we might have it next week. Well, guess what? I think it might happen next year. Well, it looks like we are ready. So you keep in permanent tension to the you keep the minds and souls and what they call it too is an extreme situation of chaos that you cannot plan ahead. You cannot see beyond the horizon because you know it's coming, because you know that the nuclear bomb is going to be dropped in San Francisco, in Seattle, in New York. It's going to get to Oklahoma. So, and adding to that, you take into consideration the ability that the system, those who control the system, those who are in power now have the ability to not only manipulate the weather or manipulate anything that has to do with nature, but they are at the level in which we can actually produce anything that has to do with anything from earthquakes to tsunamis to heating the climate change. So not only have we caused global catastrophes in terms of climate, but now we can make it worse, and we can control it, and we can export it and import it. So it's what we call it. Now we're living on a doctrine of total control at the global scale, as the world has never ever seen it or experienced it. It will be interesting, yes, as you are asking and you are saying, that it will be interesting to see at what level is the population, the world population, prepared to be kept on this state of mind, and that is. I think that's the question not of the day or of the year. I think that's the question of the century. Is the 21st century going to be the century where the 2/3 of the population should be diminished for the well-being of the 0.9% of the population? That remains to be seen. From what we have investigated and from what we are finding, it seems that a big part of the world is moving in that direction, and that's why you see that the need to create and recreate natural phenomenons, natural in quote unquote, right? But regarding the main point of your encounter here, I must say to you that this permanent state of terrorism, this permanent state of fear that the powers that be are imposing upon the minds and the souls and the spirits of the world population are going to be only increasing to the extent that I might, as you might see that China keeps growing and becoming ever since the number one economic power. You probably are going to have to see the use of nuclear artifacts. I think that those in power might not see another solution to their lost, to their imminent lost, to their nowhere to go back lost. I think that the empire, as we know it since World War II, has been diminished, and is now diminished to the extent that it is in the category of second place. No longer it is in the first place. And if you have an alliance, a strategic or junctural alliance between Russia and China, then I think that the more solid this alliance and the more real it gets, then the chances are that the powers that are being led by, in this case, the military-industrial complex, might take some never-seen actions, and it could the same way that they did it with Nagasaki and Hiroshima back in 1945. They could do it in this decade. I think that the preparations have been on their way for years now, and you do have a very it might not be a very large and big, but it's a very powerful group within the military-industrial complex that has been pushing for the use of nuclear bombs. They say we build it and we have it, and why we're not using them. So in the world today, no other country fits that category of the Nagasaki or Hiroshima of 1945 than the North Korean Democratic Republic. And as you probably have seen, the people of that country, the government of that country, are basically on a 24/7 alert, and they have built underground sites. And last time we heard about it, it seems that now they have the capability to house. It looks like for months. All their population inside this site, and they can respond in a matter of seconds. They have been training on this. They have been practicing this for over a decade now, and never have they seen a threat before closer than they seen it today with this current president. Because, as you know, it take the Harry Trumans to make those decisions. Or the Dick Cheneys and the Bushes to take decisions such as 9/11. So it is a matter of whether you have the right elements in place. And according to the North Korean government, the U.S. is in that position right now. Of course, there is a lot there are a lot of expectations about what might happen next year, 2018, as the U.S. is going through an electoral process in which the political map internally might have some changes in terms of the Senate races and congressional races, and that might turn the tide either way, because it is true, and we are not denying that Democrats and Republicans in the end are the same, as some would say, right? The two wings of the same bird. However, one has to mention that, and I probably will agree with this, that had Donald Trump been in power during the missile crisis with Cuba in the 60s, early 60s, 1961, probably there would have been a nuclear catastrophe back then, which we're not denying might be happening today, but that's just a point that needs to be taken. So it in the end, as I can see that our time is up. In the end, the population should expect more quote-unquote terrorist-oriented actions or massive tragedies in which you might have entire sectors of society being put to death by different situations, and that includes any natural gain, right? Quoting, quote unquote, natural disasters from tsunamis to fires to earthquakes to storms to accidents that might happen, to massacres. So this is coming. This is it's not that it's coming. It's being here, but it's going to be increasing. So there is a consensus among the elites at the moment to increase the psyche of terror and fear at the global scale, so that the population is prepared for a Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the volume of 1,000 or the thousands, as we can read some documents. They talk about the close to 40 million people who live in North Korea today that might be the subjects of this experimental action that the military-industrial complex is planning and executing at any moment. So, yes, I think that you can already see that there is there are some situations that should be subject to investigation, as for instance the massacres that just happened in Las Vegas. Now it is not just, now it's just been proved that there wasn't just one shooter. The fires in California, now we are being told that there were some very peculiar noises that, according to one of the experts, are not related or have nothing to do with fires, and there is also some now is out there that some type of smokes that have been out of that fire are actually not that very natural smoke that you have with natural fire. So as you can see, there are many questions that are still unanswered. And what can we say? What can we say? The population right now needs to rise up. The population needs to get educated. The population needs to hit the streets, because there is not that many choices right now. Either the population rise up, or you're gonna have to inhale the effects of nuclear explosions in different places. And now you have the capability to make the hydrogen bomb explode at any time, anywhere. And that, of course, it implies universal annihilation just by gassing that invisible gas that at that particular moment in time you're gonna feel your lungs exploding, and that's the end. So So that's what on this first chapter we're going to be touching upon, and we'll continue.